Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
I'm Dan.
I'm Kayla.
Andrew.
And I'm Josh. Kaila, welcome back to our
Thank
panel. Your fiance did an excellent job this past week.
He did.
Mm-hmm. And if you're wondering where Charlie's been, he's just been busy these past 8 weeks. But
I'm Charlie now.
I can assure you that he'll be back soon. But we have Dan in here today. Dan, I have 3 questions for you.
Sure, but
1, do you like vacuums?
not much. I mean, they're good for cleaning, but
Number 2, do you like drums?
yeah, they got a cool beat to them.
Okay, do you play?
No.
Okay.
I suck at
And 3, do you like cookies?
Yes, especially Oreos. That's the one thing me and him have in common.
Okay.
He gets like a B rating as a fill-in, Charlie. It's not bad.
Okay. Yeah, I would say he
B
gets
rated?
B rating. I would A.
Yeah, it's very hard to fill in for Charlie.
Yeah, he's one of a kind.
Mm-hmm. But for the first time in several seasons, we are going to be going over a prolific author that each of us has read.
Especially Josh.
Yeah, especially me. I collect just about everything he writes, especially his older works, and he has really done a lot to impact the world of reading, especially in the horror fiction genre, which in itself is a giveaway, and that is Stephen King. And we are going over The Shining, which is the 3rd book that he wrote. People are familiar with the film adaptation directed by Stanley Kubrick and starring Jack Nicholson in the lead role. This was written back in 1977, and it is the only Stephen King novel that is featured in 1001 Books to Read Before You Die. But I put together a discussion starter, and we are going to go from there. In the introduction of the republished paperback edition of this novel, which is this right here, King wrote, "I believe these stories exist because we sometimes need to create unreal monsters and boogies to stand in for all the things we fear in our real lives. The parent who punches instead of kissing, the auto accident that takes a loved one, the cancer we one day discover living in our own bodies. If such occurrences were acts of darkness, they might actually be easier to cope with." So the question that I wanted to present to start the discussion is, do you feel that the monsters in this novel, real and fictional, are meant to blend as one?
I do. I think so. I think that, Jack Torrance kind of makes things worse by getting stuck in his head, and he takes this job where he's alone in the mountains with his family for so long, and no matter who you are, that's going to detriment your mental state. And let alone the fact that he's a recovering alcoholic, he has these horrible things in his past, and he's, quite frankly, he's a writer, which makes him a little bit unsteady to begin with. So I think all of that just kind of builds up, and I think that as much of what happens is real, it's also in his mind.
I think being unsteady as a writer is what you make of it. And I think that with Jack Torrance, his background, where he's struggling to begin with, and he also took up teaching jobs at colleges in the English department, but you can tell that he himself is unsteady, and that he's struggling to provide for Wendy and for Danny.
I was about to kid's name is Danny.
Yeah, the kid's name is Danny Torrance.
Yep. It's freaking me because that's my name.
What are your thoughts, Andrew?
And he still wants to make it a go with his writing and his play and everything. But I think The Overlook is definitely although multifaceted and made up of different individuals, the Overlook itself is, in my opinion, one entity. But I think the Torrances are individual entities under their own, just that run at the place at that time, and it instigated the plot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, granted, it could have worked.
I kind of think it. Oh, I'm sorry. I think it kind of back to the Overlook. I think it kind of expresses itself the multitude, like say with the wasp nest and the party and just all the many elements always as one.
Wasn't a lot of that in his
This is
head,
a
though?
party.
A lot of it was in his head, though.
No, I believe. No, I think he kind of actuated it when he discovered the scrapbook.
The party within the book you're talking about.
I think that was
Because
yeah.
the party within the book is different from the way that the party is portrayed in the movie.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Oh no, I'm keeping because the
Yeah.
movie's its own thing. I'm trying to
Yeah,
keep
the
that in
movie
my head.
became its own.
No,
Yeah.
no, the movie in here. There's a movie story in here. But what were you asking about that party?
Oh, it was, yeah, you said it was completely in the book. I just thought I was wondering if you were referring to the party.
Oh no, I was just thinking.
Oh, I know what part you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, there's always like an aggregate of sources, but like I don't even know where I was starting with that. But,
Oh, that's okay.
but I was trying to think on my own like what it was like one congealed like thing because the one thing that comes to my mind is the very end when there's like the swarm of wasps. It's kind of like the last vestige of the Overlook, and he kind of saw it as a shadow, as a person, but then it just dispersed.
I think the eeriest part was where Jack Torrance disfigured himself.
Oh, hands down.
With the mouth.
Yeah.
Where he became that pretty much sealed the deal.
That was
he
that
was
last thing of like self-awareness.
a monster. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he just
But that was just the image in itself.
Right.
You don't even have to know what it's standing for. I think the painted picture spoke 1,000 words.
Yeah. No, you're
If
right.
about your question, the thing is, yeah, I feel like is that the fake monsters and the real monsters are meant to blend as one, because from what we see, like we don't really know what's true and what's not.
Yes, Charlie.
What was that?
Yeah, that worked.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, like what I'm saying is,
That's as sudden as a Bollywood moment.
so what I'm saying is that it's kind of blended as one because from what we see is that Jack definitely has like some disorder or something like that.
Mhm.
You know, he's seeing like figures who aren't there, all right, and he's confusing what's real and what's not
Mhm.
until he completely lets his mind go and thinks, I don't know what's real, what's not. I should destroy it all. That's why he starts chasing after his kid and wife.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the son seems to have the same thing as well. You know, I think it's in the book too. The famous scene with the two girls in the hallway.
No.
I know.
No, there's no moment with not like it is in the movie with the two girls.
Yeah.
There were things. There was the woman in the bathroom.
Well, he did see things like Anthony.
Yeah.
Anthony isn't real,
Yeah.
and the red rum and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not the drink red rum, just it's murder backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, it definitely shows that his son may have some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of shows that maybe Jack had a pre-existing disorder that he didn't know of, and the thing is, just all the stress pretty much got to him, and it caused him to just snap and lose his mind.
Yeah, you're on point with there because like Jack's father was like a violent alcoholic, and then Jack was, and so you can only assume that's might be passed on to Danny.
They mentioned Danny goes back in Doctor Sleep, which I have not read yet. And
Yeah.
I think that I think that the Overlook Hotel can be seen as a test, where the Overlook Hotel is the demon within itself, and Jack Torrance himself is someone that is going through plenty of demons that have been driven by his personal issues, some of which have been due to alcoholism and then some have been other issues of his own. Wendy, I would say, is the one regular subject. I really don't think that she, aside from...
She's kind of like the what's the term that they use? Like the strip man, like the normal one. The thing is,
She's concerned about keeping the family together.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say
Yeah.
she's
it's kind of
had...
hard when your husband comes at you with a mallet.
Yeah, it makes it a little difficult.
She's the normal subject, because Danny... But Danny is he is a supernatural being on a more positive end, where he can read the horrors that are taking place. And the same can be said about Halloran, who tends to the hotel beforehand. With Halloran, to me, comes off as a hybrid between Mr. T and Isaac Hayes.
Could be.
Yeah.
And he's just a
I
fool.
pay the fool who don't buy a drink. I don't know Isaac Hayes.
But you have that element to it as well. But which it seems like this horror consumes the weaker being that's being consumed by evil demons. I can't really say that
Yeah.
because Jack Torrance isn't evil, he just has evil demons within him with the alcoholism. And these evil demons are real.
Yeah.
And
Well, they're
There's a
real
connection.
but they are able to spare the good.
So the Overlook's real target was Danny, but
Mhm.
Danny was too mentally shrunk out, and Jack was like the weaker target, basically.
Yeah, like Danny fought against his demons, Jack accepted them, and that's what drove him to
Right,
madness.
right.
And I think that's something that Stephen King is trying to get at, because as much as horror is a genre within itself, I don't think Stephen King is writing to put together a story that delivers a message.
Yeah, I think it's more like about the human horror than it is the supernatural horror.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I think he does a great job putting them both together, which that marriage is essential.
You know, yeah, Stephen King definitely has his finger on the family and domestic horror.
And I think that's why domestic horror is so strong, because it can do a much better job getting under your skin.
Right, you
Oh,
can instantly
yeah.
relate to it.
Yeah.
You're already there. You don't have to stretch your mind around any figurative monster, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's like something that can actually happen in real life.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for him, Stephen King dealt with alcoholism. And
Yeah.
he dealt with drug problems, but that was closer to when he was writing the Tommyknockers. He wrote most of that while he was high.
Did I read that?
Yeah, he had a little bit of a coke addiction.
Mhm.
I've heard stories where he's had to stop up his.
He's had like a lot of problems.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
kind of rough life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think like the idea of your dad turning on you and becoming this demon is way scarier than anything your imagination could come up with.
Sure,
though.
right.
You know,
That's what happened to his
Danny's
own dad.
is a little kid. You know,
Mhm.
that's
He's-
terrifying.
Stephen King's own dad left him when he was very young, too.
Mhm.
So I think that really had a lot of drive into this. And
Oh yeah, that makes sense now. So it's kind of like he put a bit of himself into Danny that's doing the story.
I think a lot of it's about writing what you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, that's actually interesting. That's a new fun fact.
But anybody have any final thoughts?
The ending makes not as much sense as the movie.
I kind of liked it in the respect that you kind of found out how powerful the Overlook was when it was completely like engulfed in flames, and it was actually getting someone as stolid as Dick Halloran when he was like in the shed getting like I forget what he was getting, like maybe blankets or something in the shed, and then he was starting to think, well, maybe it'd be better off if I offed them, and he was starting to think about killing them, and then. Remember that he had that conflict? He was going to kill Wendy and Danny.
Oh yeah.
And it would make an easier trip to get back. But then, yeah,
Granted, you're talking about Halloran?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he was. I don't know how long he was really dealing with that punch.
No, just I'm talking about that the final small.
Oh.
Like it just had like that little bit of grip to it.
Oh,
at
you
the
mean
end.
him at the, not, are you talking about him cooking the seafood, or?
No, I'm talking about
Oh.
the boiler exploding.
Oh, the boiler, okay.
The hotel being basically gone, and then him getting stuff out of the shed, and
Mm.
it's still having a pull on him,
Right.
trying to influence him to.
The hotel itself.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm talking
Okay.
at the very
Which
end.
the hotel's
Yeah.
people, which at least granted, Halloran has the same kind of power as Danny does. Halloran has much more experience with it,
Mm-hmm.
so
No, I was just saying it was a good way to illustrate how
it's
powerful it
interesting
was.
how that
Yes.
demon is
Yeah.
there, but it
Yeah.
it can be conquered by good.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like I'm saying, is like the ending of like the movie didn't make much sense to me.
Yeah.
I had to look up what that actually meant. And the thing is, same thing with the book. The ending doesn't. I mean, it's a bit more easier to follow, but I feel like I kind of like the ones that make you think. That's kind of like what I'm used to with most Stephen King books, like the ending that makes you think.
Yeah.
And this one didn't really
Maybe
think that
kind
too
of
much.
just
It
tapered
kind
off.
yeah, it kind of just tapered off, and it's kind of like, okay, well, that's easy to understand. I mean, what you said, the thing is, yeah, that's something to think about, but it's not like too much. Like,
Yeah.
if anybody knows, like, yeah, the Overlook is haunted. You know, it's got like these demons in it. The thing is, even though you destroy it, the thing is, the demon can still be pretty powerful even without its home.
I would say the book did make me think, and I think that the ending was a bit lighter, or the epilogue.
Yeah.
made it a bit
Yeah,
light-
that's what I think Dan was. Yeah, it kind of softened. It could
Well,
have had a
yeah.
punch. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I mean. Like, the thing is, like,
Yeah.
the movie ending, the thing is, I'm so confused about it, but the thing is, like, you know, it had kind of that thing that made you think
Mm-hmm.
really hard about it.
Like we're not
And-
used to Stephen King's
Yeah.
characters getting out of it mostly on
Yeah,
stage.
like,
Mm.
I feel like the movie, I like that they killed Jack,
Mm-hmm.
right? What, is his name Jack in the book? Yeah.
In-
Yeah.
Jack was probably killed. I think his death was illustrated much more clearly in the book than it was in the movie.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
in the movie,
I
he's still a ghost that has Jack Nicholson's face to it.
Yeah.
In the book, it's this deformed, beastly-looking monster who has been consumed by the hotel, and by that time has become nothing.
Yeah, so like, the thing is, that when he goes more insane to the point that he dies.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, the movie one is like, I like it that he died being evil. This one, he kind of like died coming to his senses. And in some instances, we like, okay, that's a bit of a happier ending kind of way. I mean, not really, he kills himself, but I feel like
Satisfying,
the
maybe.
one where the monster itself dies, because he was basically a monster at the end.
Yeah.
He
And
had
here
only
he
came to his senses slightly, but once he put them out to himself, I think that
Yeah,
was.
Yeah, he had,
that's
like,
what
one
made
final
him do
moment
that.
of clarity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I actually could say that I think the ending was kind of bittersweet.
To an
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that.
I prefer my endings either sweet or completely bitter.
Not in between.
Yeah, that's
But
what I mean
Stephen
with, like,
King-
I want either milk chocolate or dark chocolate.
Stephen King experiments with different endings, so
Yeah.
he's.
Oh, it's by no means a bad
Yeah.
book. It's just the thing is comparing it to like the movie, which I know we don't really do that here, but for me, it's like I saw the movie first before I saw the book, so the endings
Yeah, same.
still is
I
like
think a lot of
different.
people have. I'm an exception to the rule, but still, I've seen clips of the movie,
You
but
haven't seen the whole movie though?
no, I haven't seen the whole movie.
But I think that they're both respectively great.
They are.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm letting you
That was a
DVD,
great
you're gonna watch the
story,
whole
the
thing.
movie.
I'm gonna
That
sit you
was a
down
great
and
story.
Yeah, and it's
That was
I think
that's
it's as
one
close
thing.
an adaptation
It's like
as
you
can
can't
get.
have the hedge animals in the
Right.
movie. It looks
Right.
silly.
Especially not
yeah.
in like the 80s.
Why should we watch
Yeah,
that?
just
Yeah.
the movie.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
It's gonna end up like Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Already, how would we rate it on a 0 to 5 scale with half stars accepted? Andrew?
I'm going with a 4.5. Yeah, I don't have any reason to take it out. 4.5. That's where I'm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I'd give it a 4.5.
I'd have to agree with that as well. 4.5, definitely.
In my original review, I had it at 4 stars, but this is before I put together a Goodreads review. But I think that looking back now, I would also bump it to 4.5. Not because everybody else has, but because I feel that I think that this is where Stephen King really began to take form.
This is the
This-
first time we've had a unanimous vote.
Yeah, right?
Mm. I actually know we've had unanimous scores.
Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah, it was
Oh, yeah.
perfect 5.
Yeah.
We gave that all
across the
5.
Oh, yeah, I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
because
Yeah.
that was stellar.
Yeah.
I think it was all of us too.
pen. Yeah,
Yeah.
Charlie was in dance months.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that one.
But if you are interested in checking out the book, this is the edition that I have. I will leave a link down below to any other edition that that you may be able to check out. Be sure to join us next time for another episode of Gladiators. For now, keep reading.